While planning to sew a neat dress, I knew I had to do special checks and fitting for this bodice. Quick test garment, and neat fitting is a little bit different, so I'm going to share my process. Check out this non-wearable bodice over here, it's so useful. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I'm super excited to share a really practical fitting video. I'm showing you specifically how I'm gonna fit one beautiful dress that you'll see tomorrow. You'll see the main garment. It's a new pattern release from Love Notions, and I am authorized to share the line art. This is called Parma dress. See the line art over here? It's a beautiful holiday dress, fit and flare. When I saw the line art, I just had a really good look and my brain started working immediately, thinking this is something I'm not just gonna go ahead and sew right away, because there's a bodice, there's a skirt, and there's a waistband that can be narrower or wider. There's two options with channels of elastic. There can be lots of customization possible, especially with length proportions. At least I know I need to check these things because it's so easy to check a circumference and be really confident, but then our lengths are a little bit different sometimes. So I thought, why not just film it and share it, and it could help you, not just specifically for the Palmer dress, but with anything similar. You'll see other styles have a bodice, a waistband, and a skirt, and fitting is a little bit different than when you just have a bodice. You know, the premise is that if you just have a bodice and a skirt, that seam is going to be at the waist. In this case, it's a little different because we have this waistband that goes in between. So the Palmer dress is going to release tomorrow on the last day of the Love Notions site-wide sale. If you've missed out, maybe you have, you can use my code. It's right here and you can get 45% off. If you use the code on the website, So Thankful, you get 40% off. I had to change position. The sun suddenly just started blasting me. But as I was saying, Love Notions site-wide sale is still happening today, finishes tomorrow, Friday the 5th. Use my code KarinaNeedles10. So if you want that little bit extra, an ambassador code is always helpful. My affiliate link is at the top of the comment section and in the description box. Check out the video I posted on Friday where I show you lots of inspiration, a lot of Love Notions patterns modeled in the context of a trip I'm taking to the UK for 4 months. I was planning what to take that would be great for layering under big jackets. So have a look at that. You see lots of Love Notions patterns there. So don't miss out on the sale. But let's go back to fitting the Palmer dress. I'm going to show you some flat pattern measurements. And when I show you these, you're going to see that I mentioned waist heights. It's basically from the base of your neck down to your waist. You're going to see an image here of me dressed in black where I have an elastic at my waist. And you can see I'm measuring from here, going over the curve of my bust up to where my waist is. Putting that elastic on the waist is really helpful because the elastic is going to find your waist. And that measurement there for me is 48 centimeters. If I do the same for the back, it's 44 centimeters. It's not going to be the same unless you have no bust and no projection here. So the bigger the bust cup size, the bigger the difference between the front and the back. My goal with all this fitting process is to have that waist be even all the way around, on the side, on the front, on the back. I don't want the waistband to be pulling in the center front. I don't want the back to be longer than the front, you know. I want it to be even, and it's all got to do with the bust there. So I want to check for the waist heights on this bodice, accounting for that waistband that's going to be on there. So let's see how to do it, and let's see the pattern adjustments I'm going to make to this bodice. This is the front bodice of the Palmer dress, and you can see to figure out the waist placement, I'm going to need to use two pieces. It's because this is the top part, but then there's a waistband. This waistband has a width right here. Now on this waistband, I'm using the wider waistband of the pattern. There is a narrower one, but this is for reference what I decided to use, and that's what I'm going to use for fit. This 3/8 over here, this 3/8 over here is seam allowance, so it doesn't count. The actual width of the waistband is this part from here to there. So I've got an arrow for you to see. That dash is just the middle of it. So that is where I want my waist to be, right in the middle. So when I wear it, the smallest part of my waist is here. That is my goal. So in order to achieve my waist length, I'm going to need the length of the bodice and partially the length of half of this waistband right there. A little bit different to fitting other bodices where usually you just have one piece. the bottom of the bodice is the waist, and then you have a skirt. Here's a little bit different because you have this little bit in the middle right there. I've drawn a seam allowance here, 3/8. I've also drawn the seam allowance of the bottom of the bodice. I've got the seam allowance stacked onto each other right there like they're going to be sewn. And this is how I'm going to measure the length of this particular style. So I like measuring in metric. That's how I grew up. Let's measure, taking away that seam allowance from the shoulder, just as the highest point right here because it's close to the neck. And we're going to measure down here. It's going to be 43 centimeters. Now I'm going to show you some images of how I measure this. I've got black clothes. I've got a reference for my waist. I'm measuring at the base of my neck. And my measurement for my body is 48. That's for wovens. But let's remember that we have some vertical stretch here for the fabric that's going to bring this down a little bit. Also, we have the weight of the skirt that's going to bring it down a little bit. So with a knit like this, I never want to replicate what I need for woven. For woven, I would need those 48 centimeters. For here, I'm going to need less. So I have 43. Let's aim for 45.5, which is basically 1 extra inch. I think if I add 1 inch to this section here, I'm going to be happy. I want it to be a little bit shorter than my body anyway to account for the vertical stretch of the knit and the weight of the skirt that's also going to pull it down. So again, what this measures here is 43 centimeters. What I would like, my body measures 48. I don't want to add 2 inches. I'm just going to add 1. This approach of adding about half of what I would do to woven has worked wonders for me in the past, and let's do that. Now let's be a little bit more generous. You know, this is a little bit of trial and error and what's worked. So let's add 1.25 inches. Let's do that just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to place my ruler. I'm going to square it off here on the center, and I'm just going to pick a spot sort of in the middle of the bodice right here and draw a line across, and I'm going to split it apart and add my 1.25 inches right here. I reiterate, this is different than if you're fitting wovens. In wovens, it has to be much more exact. With wovens, you don't have vertical stretch, but with knits, you do. I've got contrast paper so you can see. I've just taped it down here, aligning it. The cutting mat is so helpful because you can align everything and it's all going to be nice and straight. I'm going to draw my 1.25 inches here, which in metric is 3 centimeters. So nice to use both, right? I have both in my head, but for measuring with a tape measure, I just like the metric so much. So there we have it. Now I'm going to bring this and align it to what I drew. Measuring this, comparing it to my body, I would need to add 2 inches. But because this is a knit, I'm going to add half of that plus a tad. So half of 2 inches that I needed would have been 1 inch, but I added 1.25 inches just to be on the safe side. This is just a suggestion. So over here, I have this that's not looking very nice right now. So I'm going to just smooth it out right here. So I'm happy with the front right here. Now let's look at the back. Now remember I added 1.25 inches to the front. I'm not just going to automatically add 1.25 inches over here. That would be wrong because sometimes the center back is just shorter. We don't have a bust there and it might not match. So I'm always looking for ways to customize this to myself. Now we have the same reference points. I have also pinned the bodice to the waistband on the seam allowances. I've drawn the seam allowance there, drawn the seam allowance there. If I measure from here to the middle to where I have that dash right there, that's my goal. This measures 45. This is actually going to be too long for me. It's sort of like a sway back adjustment. My center back from the base of the neck down measures 44. So I already have 3/8 of an inch extra right here that I would like to remove if possible. So I'm going to do sort of like a wedge right here. It's going to be a little bit different. Everybody is different. I definitely don't want this longer on the back. So I'm going to choose a spot right here at the back and I'm going to draw a line. And this is all for the goal of having a balanced waistline, not having one shorter than the other. So here on the back, I'm going to overlap that 3/8 of an inch. So that's my line. So I'm going to overlap it right here in the center. That's what I need for this. What I'm going to do to make it easier is just get a pin, and over here where I overlapped, I'm going to pin, but it's going to be like a pivot point. So that's overlapped. I reduced the center back length by just 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter. And now I'm just going to open this up over here so that on the side, I have that extra 1 1/4 inches. Take this out so you can see what happened to the center back. Now, if I wanted to place this on the fold, you can see it's skewed. This is coming out this way because of that movement that I did with the pattern. So I'm going to align this right there on the line of my cutting mat, this right here on the line. And I'm just going to fill it up, put some paper over here. So now I can put this on the fold again because I've straightened it out. You can see that on this section I have a bit extra ease. If you wanted to, you could remove that slightly here. Do I need to? Look, it's about 1/4 of an inch there. So let's perfect it. And let's bring this in there, and then we're back to the original shape right here. If you wanted to correct it, that's how I would do it, just so that we keep the ease the same. It's very slight. And now you see that when I put this one next to each other here, the side seams are going to match. They're going to have the same length. And that's because I needed that extra length in the front to match my bust protrusion and all of that, and my height as well. So side seams are going to match, but then this is sort of shorter right here, and that's just what my body needs. So I wanted to show you this in a practical way. Maybe you can give it a go with your bodices if you see that your front and your back are not aligned, that it's not a balanced waist. This could certainly help. And so for this style, it was about measuring the bodice plus this waistband up to here, because that is where the waist is going to be. If you have a bodice that's a regular bodice, then of course it's going to be a little bit longer, and that would be your reference point as to the length that you want, because then you would have a skirt. But in this one, you have bodice, waistband, and then the skirt. So that is my approach here to get a nice fit. Of course, I will confirm this, but I hope this helps. Okay, one extra thing. We lengthen the front bodice, and there's a placket in this design. So it doesn't matter, it's just a rectangle. Just choose a place, draw a line, and add the same amount that you added so that it matches. Whenever you make a change to something that affects another piece, always remember that, because it's sometimes really easy to forget. And then we cut out our placket, and then we don't understand what is going on here. So there we have it. The 3 pieces that are affected by this fitting process: the placket, the front bodice, the back bodice. It's all going to match my waist, going to match my bust, all the things, and plus the waistband. You can see nothing changed here. Circumferences, sizing, nothing. This is all vertical adjustments, not blending sizes, nothing like that. This is all a straight size large. Okay, so after doing those pattern adjustments, I actually had my main fabric looking at me. It's a Ponte Roma with a beautiful print, really, really soft. I can't get any more of it because I bought it in Chile. I definitely did not want to just jump in and cut it and use it, but I knew that some pieces I could actually go in and cut, like the waistband and the skirt. I could actually use these for my test garment. All I wanted to cut from scraps were the bodice pieces over here, because those were the ones I was modifying. So here is my dress. You can see I've got a Ponte Roma here. The placket here is just a random, another Ponte Roma, and here is my waistband. The waistband has 3 channels, and I only put elastic on the middle one. That's where the reference for my waist was. With this process, I can also regulate the elastic, and I know what length I want to cut it to be comfortable. This was so useful. Let's see it on. I'm going to show it to you in my sewing room. Okay, so check out my test garment. Now the waistband and the skirt are from the fabric I'm going to use for my final dress. Those don't change. You know, I'm just fitting the bodice right here. So I have random fabrics on the top of the bodice, but the waistband and the skirt are my main fabrics. You can't really see it because I've got it wrong sides out. And you can see that it's all very good. Now I have a collar missing, I have sleeves missing. I don't need that to check for fit. I just wanted to see this waist. And so there are 3 elastic channels. I only threaded the elastic through the middle one. So the top and the bottom, I haven't put elastic, and this is all I need to know to check for fit. And that middle elastic is exactly at my waist, exactly where I wanted it to be. Now sideways, you can see that this is all super even. You know, I don't have this pulling up. If I hadn't have added all that length here, this is how this would be fitting. Let's just replicate that. Let's take away some length over here. This is how it would look. It would be pulling up, and then the back was okay. So yeah, it was so important for me to adjust this length. I have a longer length in the center front than I do at the center back, but it ends up nice and balanced and even on my body because it matches my body. Basically, it's just customizing length proportions. This is a size large. The circumferences, the fit is perfect. So I'm super happy now to unsew this fake bodice, cut my real bodice from my main fabric, put this on here, and then finish sewing this dress. It's gonna be so pretty, and I'm so happy I took the few extra minutes it took to make this fakeness up here on the top. I've already got half the dress done because my waistband, the channels are done, my skirt is done. So all I need to do now is take off this bodice. I've actually done it by hand. It's just hand sewn on. So I just have to pull this off, take out this fake bodice, cut my fabric, put that on, and I'm so happy, so excited. So this was very useful, super useful. After trying it on, I am so happy because my adjustment worked. As you can see, I get an even waistline all the way. Channel that's right in the middle is exactly at my waist in the front and the back. So I definitely needed extra length in the front, nothing on the back. I even took away 3/8 of an inch at the center back, and then I made sure that the side seams were gonna match. So this was so good. Now this bodice and this waistband is hand basted on right here. That's what I do with test garments. Check it out, big basting stitches holding it together. All I have to do is rip this out. I've already got my waistband done and my skirt. I can put that aside, sew my actual bodice now with the main fabric, and just continue making my dress. And I'm so happy my fitting adjustments work. I hope that my process is helpful. You can see it's not that exact as if I'm fitting woven fabrics. I did take into account the weight of the skirt, the vertical stretch of my fabric, because my fabric does stretch vertically. So it's not exactly the same. If I was trying to fit this as a woven, it would be totally different. So just be a little more flexible with knit fabrics. Save your knit scraps because they can serve you. I've made garments out of these little scraps, and I was so happy to have them because it was so useful for me to make this bodice. And now I'm so excited to go and finish the main dress that you'll see tomorrow. So make sure you're subscribed, tune in to see my beautiful Palmer dress, and take advantage of the last day of the Love Notion sale. Let me know what you think. See you again tomorrow. Bye.